Hey, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the McShin Foundation's award-winning recovery podcast, Get in the Herd. Today, we have a few special guests here in the studio with us. I think I've met these ladies before, but I'm not really sure. Today, we have my mother. Did I say that with enthusiasm? I don't think I did. My mother. We have my mother. How about that? That's better. And we have my sister, my mother, Kathe, over here to my left, and my sister, Robin, over here to my right. The cool thing that you need to know about these ladies is that they 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 handle me, and they handle me well. I hear crinkle, crinkle, crinkle. Did you hear that? Yeah. As if I'm not. Yeah. We have so for those of you out there watching right now or listening right now, so here in the studio we haven't soundproofed the room yet. So if you have any equipment you want to soundproof and help us out, we'd be grateful, because right now all I hear are blowing like a storm in my ear, and then the crinkling from the candy wrap. So today we have my mom Kathe and my sister Robin, and I think Jesse's going to stop by here in a few minutes to just jump in the show and talk with us. But I wanted to talk about families, and really the whole family in recovery. And Pride, it's Pride Month. Yay. So question, boy, this is really weird. I wasn't really anticipating talking to my mom, and I was anticipating it, but it's really weird. So, hi, how was your trip up here or down here, Mom?
It was fine. A little bit of traffic around Fredericksburg, so probably got here a few minutes later than I expected. But no, it's really easy. I love coming down here.
You can pull this closer to you if you want. There we go. Yeah.
Is that better?
That's better. Does that sound good? Well, I'm glad you're here and welcome. I know that you're off today. You worked last night?
I took off today. Yes.
Why did you take off today?
Because I really just need to have a kid fixed today.
And
needed to see my children.
And why today?
Well, today, is as good as any other day, so why not?
Oh, she's not going to say it. All right, fine.
It's actually tomorrow. So, but okay, it's the day before Nathan's 21st birthday.
Thank you. Right. Also,
happy birthday, everybody.
Happy birthday.
I mean, to Nathan.
To Nathan.
I'm nervous.
Well, no. So it's also Flag Day today. So June 14th is Flag Day, which I absolutely adore that my birthday is the day after. So, Robin.
Yes, Nathan.
Welcome to the show. Why are you here today? What's up with you?
Well, Mom gave birth to me after you.
Oh.
So we're related.
No, we're related.
Definitely here to support you, and of course love seeing both of you. So.
All right. Awesome. So for those of you out there, some of you may know this already, but this woman right here, I married my sister a few years ago.
Nothing illegal about it. Just saying.
Nothing immoral, nothing illegal, nothing wrong whatsoever. No, I was a ordained minister. I did the service for them. So anyway, welcome down here. I'm so grateful to have you guys. It's been a weird couple of years. I think for me, I celebrated 3 years in recovery in February. So I guess I'm almost 3.5. Yep. Well, thank you. And you guys have both experienced you experienced a lot of the ups and downs with that, and even before recovery. So what are you? This is such a weird thing to have you both here. I'm sorry. So what are you all doing for yourselves for recovery? Because we talk about recovery as being or addiction as being a family disease. And so this, it doesn't just affect the addict, it affects the moms and the sisters and the, the nieces and nephews, your grandkids. So what are you doing to help with your recovery now?
Do you want to go first? Do you want to go first?
Yeah, we can talk back and forth, but I think initially, it's a probably a long-winded answer to a really big question, but just in general, I think my my just general concept is just dealing with it one day at a time, just like everybody else, because that's really, all we have is just, deal with the issues today and, don't worry about the big picture. Just get through the day the best way possible. Yep. And just remember, it's all about love, and it's all about, getting well, and it's all about, concern for one another and just trying to do the right thing every day. So,
Yeah.
Cool.
I think just true to my personality, I just threw myself into educating myself and understanding, particularly when I felt like my emotions in the beginning were kind of running the show, and I just didn't like that. So I just learned what I could and paid attention and really just listened to what I was hearing around me. I eavesdropped on this podcast to hear people's experience. And, I liked seeing your face everywhere because, being so far apart, I really did feel so removed from what was happening. And then just then once that happened, it sort of just became like an easy peel of misguidance that I had or misconceptions that I've had. And really just being able to be open-hearted about things and have more compassion and, and just shutting my mouth and listening.
Yep. Sometimes doing more listening and less talking is actually really helpful.
Yeah. I wish I had learned that a long time ago.
Because Robin's right. If you feed into your emotions, then it's hard to move beyond that if you let your emotions take control, of your day.
So you've recently had a very big move from halfway across the country. Because initially when I got to Richmond, here in Henrico County, you were in Denton, Texas.
Yes.
And you've recently made the move, what did we say, 3 months ago?
Just about, yeah.
Yeah. I know that you're from Northern Virginia. I know you were born in where you were born, but your most of your life was grown up in Northern Virginia. And a lot of my life was grown up in New Jersey and in Virginia Beach, so we've had, we have the same mother and father, but we've had sort of different tracks, and that's, we're 6.5 years apart. I'm 6.5 years younger. And
I was just about to say, does that make me 14?
I had to throw something funny in there. But 6.5 years separating us. I'm 6.5 years older than you. So we had a period growing up where you actually lived with mom and our stepfather, and I lived with our brother and our father. So having that separation, that was weird growing up. I think it's a weird thing that we've experienced together and still come out together because of we have, of course, the same parents. The question is, why did you come back to Central Virginia? Why did you come to Virginia?
Oh, well, there's a lot of answers to that question, but I'm a family girl and an East Coast girl at heart. And, I love Texas. The topography there is amazing. The people there are wonderful, but, it's not, and I've had the privilege of being able to explore and, even my relationships that I've made myself and brought to my own family haven't really constrained me to any place. And so I feel like I've experienced quite a bit, and, just, they say you can't go home, but that's not true, and you can make your new home and you can still be close to everything, I guess. So
the home is where your family is too, and wherever love is. So
right.
You make your home.
Right. So that's why you can always go back, because it's a non-tangible, non-direct place. But it is nice to be close to you all, to our extended family. And, I know this area. I feel comfortable in this area. And, that's it.
Yeah. I think Texas will be looking to you for their next tourism campaign. Come to Texas. The topography is wonderful.
They're doing a lot of stuff right now that I can't really parade about, so we'll just go with topography. How about that?
Well, we have other we have extended family out there, which is cool. I got to visit them last year when I took my trip around the country. I spent probably probably a week and a half total in Texas, I think. Maybe even longer, because I started down near Houston and Galveston. I went to Galveston and did went I literally went down there just to go to the water, to take a video of myself going to the water, and then left. I didn't do anything other than go to the beach, take a picture, and then go back to Houston where I was staying. So
That's what we did in Lake Michigan too, didn't we?
did we do? I think we did. I forgot about
Just
that.
to put our toes in the water and then leave.
Yeah. Oh wow. I forgot. That was back in like 97, 96.
Yeah, it was the year after you graduated high school, I think.
I
think it was that summer.
I think it was a year. I think it was 96. I think it was 2 years. I think I turned.
Not to date you or anything, but
Well, I turned 20 that year. It was
Right.
yeah. It was cold in Michigan. I remember that. Yeah. I forgot that did you drop me off there, or did you pick me up?
No, I drove out there to pick you up, I think.
Yeah.
And then we drove back.
Yeah, well, see that. Okay, so we have a history as a family of doing trips like that, just random trips. I know. Your fortunes changed in high school. So when I was in high school, we were struggling a little bit, and we just gotten through the yeah, I'm going to continue to date myself, but the early 90s and the recession of the first George Bush period was a little hard on us, and we struggled. But by the time you went to high school 6.5 years later or so, you were doing a lot better. There might be some resentments here about you getting to go to Switzerland to ski and the Alps and do all that kind of stuff.
Actually, I won that trip. I didn't pay for it. It might have been a different situation otherwise.
Ooh.
I mean, you can or you can't afford it, right?
I didn't know that you won that.
You just knew you were looking at hot Swiss boys, right?
Well, that's because I could have chose anyone, but you were.
Well,
Wait. Now I got another resentment.
You were unavailable at the time.
Yeah, I was. Yeah. That's a good way to say that. I was
Right.
unavailable.
And Nathan has another sibling, Brian, as well, middle child. He was active duty at the time, so he was also unavailable. So I looked to my children first, and baby girl got the gold gold ring. So,
So you're saying Robin was the third choice?
there's no winning in this conversation. So
No. This comes from a family. Our brother, our sibling, Brian. He is. The three of us. The four of us. Jeez, I don't know what I'm talking about today. The three of us would compare. Maybe somebody out there can relate to this, but the three of us would compare how many pictures of us were on the wall at any one time.
I really think that was just you.
Well, actually, that's not true.
See, I know Brian did it too. Did Robin?
Do I have to say?
I mean, I work an honest program.
Okay.
Wow.
So how about the fireplace pictures? Let's talk about that.
So we had these pictures, all three of us, my brother, my sister, and I, portraits, right? Yeah, and all three of us had exactly the same haircut. We all had hair right at our shoulders. Am I right?
No, we did.
We did. And they were placed above the fireplace, so they were spaced out, 1, 2, 3, but they were placed in like a bit of a triangle. So the one in the middle was a little higher.
Being the only girl, it made sense that I'd be in the middle.
Being the oldest, it made sense that I was in the middle.
Right. So it was chronological. It was balanced. Boy, girl, boy. It was youngest to oldest to youngest.
You could really tell who was there last.
Yeah, exactly. If you wanted to know who was the last one at the house, just look at the fireplace.
But
Yeah, the worst was when people would come over and they'd see a picture of all of us and be like, "Kathe, you have twins?
Yes.
You have multiples?" Being the
No.
only girl, that was not fun.
Oh, you and Brian, yeah.
So
That's
the
true.
Haircut. They looked like the same age, same hair, twins.
Well, when you moved out of the Annandale place and you moved into where you live now in Lake Jackson, there were the little pictures, the little tiny portraits that we would find, and actually I think it was just me that did this. I would find them and I would hide them in the bathroom so that when you sit down to use the restroom, you would look at some random little crack or something in the room, and suddenly you'd see a picture of a baby Nathan.
Yes.
I 100% did that too.
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah, for being honest.
So I think my first drug of choice was attention, and I say that a lot, actually. Debbie Rosenbaum, good to see you, Debbie. She says, "Happy early birthday, Nathan, and so happy to see your family on today. Healing is possible for individuals and their families." So Debbie and Ed are. Debbie was or still is a board member. Debbie, are you still on the board? But a very, very, very strong supporter of the McShin Foundation, and she's been on the show a couple of times. So good to see you, Debbie, and so is her husband, Ed. So we have a lot of questions we could go over, and I was really hoping Jesse would come in here and take over on this because we get to some squeamish questions here about recovery and all the things that were happening, those years of using. What are the things that so we talked about what you're doing now to maintain your recovery. I've kind of gone for the easy stuff because the hard stuff is hard, right? And for me, I'm going to be 45 tomorrow, right? I'm a 45-year-old. I'm a 45-year-old man, right? But there's still a part of me that is still growing. I mean, I hope there's always a part of me that's still growing and learning and moving on and recovering, but there's a part of me that's stuck. Well, maybe not stuck, but that is growing from that early 20s, late teen, place where I started doing some of the heavier, more destructive things in my life. And, I had periods of doing destructive things and I kind of, have ebbed and flowed with my using until that last year. That last year, maybe the last 2 years, and maybe I don't even see what I think I'm seeing because you're giving me that look. And
I'm just listening.
No, that's good because see, my perspective is, I was doing okay, and then after I wasn't really doing okay. See, I knew this would be a weird conversation to have.
No, this is just my tired face. I'm just waiting to. Nothing else going on in there.
This is just my anxiety-ridden, and I'm in pain, and I'm really scared, and it's vulnerable face. That's all this is right here, But so when did you guys realize that things were becoming a problem for me?
Do you want to go first?
Do you want to go first?
Well, I guess it was a situation that just kind of evolved over time. I mean, eventually it did escalate and become abundantly clear that this was a situation that was beyond anybody in our family's ability to really help with, other than to, just love you and just let you know that we're there for you. But it's really up to you and anybody else that's struggling with recovery to make those decisions for themselves as to, how they want to conduct their lives, and it's, as an adult, I mean, you make those choices for yourself. Nobody else can choose how to live your life for you. But was there a defining moment when I knew that, it's difficult because young people, you hear it all the time, people in their 20s and like college kids, they're always wanting to party and be social and go to this bar, that club. And like, you don't really know where the line in the sand is when it becomes, is it just young people being social, or is it a problem that they can't, work out for themselves? And I think that's where it kind of started for me, where I started having doubts where, all right, is this just a little bit too much partying, or is this really indicative of a larger problem?
Well, what I can say is that, when I was younger and I was going through my late teens, early 20s, I mean, everything you did was gold to me. And we had a lot of fun together. We have very similar personalities, and we are gregarious with people and we're friendly with people. So it was like an extension of my personality being with you, or heightened of my personality being with you, because I feel like I fed off of you and we fed off of each other. And so, I went a different way and had my family early, and I had to slow down quite a bit on things. And, I never really made any judgments on you, but there were a couple of things you said throughout. I remember one time joking that you could come live with me. And you were like, no, I'm not going to screw you over like that. No. And I was like, okay. And I felt like there was always this need to like sort of protect me and protect the relationships of you and mom and I. And I think when I saw that you were, and I can see we're getting squeamish, but I think when I saw that you were imposing on those relationships is when I knew that there was a problem, because I knew that wasn't you. And that's where my emotions first started to like run me first, because of course I got angry at first, and I wasn't certain of how I wanted to have a relationship with you beyond that. And by that point I had moved far away, and so it wasn't like, even if I lived close though, at the time I wasn't, being the younger sister and kind of being sheltered from a lot of stuff, I didn't feel like I had a role to say what's going on. Whereas if you had said that to me, I would have stopped and thought, oh, there's something happening. But I didn't feel like that was really my position to say anything. But I did tell mom. I brought it up to mom, and my best friend is a drug counselor in Pennsylvania, and so she enlightened me to some of the things that she heard about, and so it wasn't without merit behind it too.
Yeah, it's funny that you say sheltered, and I think of going out into the middle of DuPont Circle when you were 16 years old, and
Sorry, Mom.
Yeah.
It's okay. Everything's funny after a certain period of time.
Now that I have a 16-year-old, I don't know.
Oh yeah, right.
Almost.
Well, almost. Yeah.
I didn't even think about that. Oh gosh, thinking about the things I did when I was 15. Oh boy, sorry, Mom.
Yeah. Oh, hey, I'm glad my parents aren't here to hear some of the stories I could tell now.
Yeah, right. But I think about specifically that time, and I remember what you walked in on later that evening, and so, it's like for me, I did not want to be imposing this craziness that was going on, but I also didn't know what was going on inside me. I didn't know what was happening, and I didn't know how to make it stop.
Yeah.
And I think, and for a long time, I think, I beat you all up because you couldn't help me because you didn't know what was going on. Certainly because I wasn't being forth. I didn't know what to say because I didn't know what was going on, but
well,
I didn't.
We did, and we were just too focused on the emotions of it without realizing that there's other ways to address the situation.
Yeah.
But that, I think, when you love somebody and you're experiencing this in a family, it's really hard to comprehend that every relationship is so much more complicated than it seems, and you can't really define the entirety of a person based by just some of the mistakes that they make at a period in their life.
Yep.
And you kind of have to really, it takes time and it takes love. And like Debbie said, healing is possible. But it's like, it's like marriage, right? You have to work at it one day at a time. Every day you have to make a conscious decision about how you're going to conduct your life.
I think there's also coming to a realization of what actually is happening, and being able to be more transparent about it, because with honesty, this is probably one of our most detailed conversations and involved conversations about this. And it's easy to sit there and say we support, but if you're not actually following through with like kind of not trudging it up, but like bringing it up and dealing with it, then you're really just kind of glossing it over, sugarcoating it again, and you're not,
Well, the thing is like not, and we just had somebody come to the studio, but before I introduce you, I want to finish this thought though. Getting stuck in that moment of I don't know what to do, and not being able to ask for help, and looking at the people around me and thinking, why aren't you helping me?
Right.
Yeah.
And that's really key, because it's not that me or anybody else in your family was saying, we're not interested in solving this problem that you created for yourself. It's just that, like, maybe we just don't know. Or maybe we're also dealing with other problems that you're not aware of, or maybe we just don't know how.
Maybe we don't know how to admit it.
Or like there's so much uncertainty on the other end as well. So again, like I was saying a moment ago, everything is far more complicated than it seems, and you just have to like peel back these onion layers one at a time, and just deal with just just deal with these issues one day at a time to really understand what's happening.
Sweet. So we just had Jesse Wysocki jump in, and I love that he has the coolest name. Wysocki.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah. My name is Larkin. You can, do whatever you want with it.
Jesse, this is the first time you're meeting my mom. Oh wait, you met my mom and my sister. That's
Yeah, we
Cookout.
met.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay. Well, good to have you here today, Jesse. We're talking families. We're talking really uncomfortable, annoying stuff, and we're talking. Can you hear the storm?
The hum.
That's
Yeah.
the air conditioner.
Is that what it is?
Yeah,
Okay. Well, it sounds real different when these are off.
I know. And you can't hear it when the
it's listening to
broadcast.
y'all,
So
yeah.
and of course, Jesse, Justin, and Derek over there. So you're a person in recovery, and you have family members, and you have a. How old is Luna?
She's 2.
2.
She'll be 3 in September. You got a lot of kids, y'all. Did I just cuss too? Oh, man.
You can say everything except the F word.
A little closer. Yeah. In my office, no F words.
No, well, and on the show, no F words either. But we will put a jar up here. You can put $1 in for the S word. You can get the tattoo of all the birthdays.
Well, I got some of them. I still got some work to do, though. There's a lot of them.
Then you'll get to a point where like their ages won't matter anymore.
Yeah.
Ah.
Well, I went to Jaden's graduation party, and her and her brother were like, "Now you got to get our names tattooed on you."
Oh.
I was like, "Well, I still got 3 other ones that aren't on there too." So
How many kids do you have?
I have 8.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
That's exciting.
That is it. Yeah.
Well, I'm
exciting.
doing a lot of genealogy right now, and my it's just like a hobby to like record all that stuff. So
Oh, I love that stuff. Did
yeah.
you get the like a test done?
I did
Okay.
a couple of years ago, and I kind of go back and forth with it. But there are several ancestors, my grandparents and their families that have had large families too. And I'm like, wait a minute, this one says 10 kids, and this one says there were 12 kids, and trying to like put all the pieces together. And yeah.
It's fun. No, it's fun to find out what your background is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we had 4 kids in our family, in my family growing up. So I liked growing up in a big family.
Yeah, my mom had, I think it was 12 siblings, 12 brothers and sisters.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm sorry. I really am sorry. I'm terribly sorry I was late. I wanted to be here in the beginning and get all the juicy stuff. Nathan's interviewing me and my son, so it's going to be fun too.
How old is Jace?
Jace 18.
18.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this has been we're talking family here. So you're about to celebrate a year of marriage. What, in July?
October.
Oh, it's been
October.
Oh,
yeah.
I thought it was earlier. Okay. So you got about a half a year, or a little over half a year. Okay, but you guys have been together for a while now.
Yeah. We've been together for a good while. 4 years, coming on 4 years. now.
Nice. I saw that you recently came into some extra money. I think 50 of that was mine. What did you? You looks like you took that and went to Busch Gardens.
30 pounds, y'all. I lost 30 pounds in 30
congratulations.
days.
I just handed him the money. I didn't
Wow.
even bother to lose the weight.
You didn't even weigh in at the end. You were just like, I'm done.
No, I did weigh in. I
Weigh-
literally gained a half a pound. I literally
Is it-
gained a half a pound.
That's
So
right. You did say that in the message.
you thought I was joking. No, I did. No, it was pretty messy around here. So that's what we do to keep it fresh. But all right, bringing it back to families, right? Families. Oh, sorry.
Well, no, because I want to ask the questions, Nathan.
Oh, I'm sorry.
He's gotten comfortable in this role in the last 10 minutes.
He's good at it. He's
In
the
the
best.
last year and a half.
He has to sit here and let me answer the questions today.
Oh, that's right, because he is one of the family. Right?
Yeah. I'm curious to know what was it like raising Nathan. Tell me about that. Who's older? You or him?
He's older.
Nathan's
Okay, he's the
Yeah.
older brother.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then there's a middle child, Brian, as well. So I have 3 children.
There's 15
Okay.
years between the two of us.
15 years, really?
No, there's not.
What? I was getting ready to say. What the
No.
My brother and I convinced some girls once that we were both hockey players too. So we have a history of lying.
Oh my gosh. Well, Nathan was so he was an only child for the first 4 years. So it's like a little more than 4
Oh, he
years
loved
difference.
that,
Mysteries
didn't
to
Yeah,
his.
kind of stuck in his
Oh,
memory.
yeah. I'm sure he refers to those as his golden
The golden
cherished
years, those 4 years.
I
In the
had a
beginning.
horse. I don't remember the horse.
I don't remember the horse.
Yeah.
So, but then why did you get mad at me for the Swiss trip?
I don't remember the horse.
See, there's the whole thing. And oh my goodness, everybody's got their thing, right? So you know, it's fun. You have different relationships with each one of your kids, and they all have different personalities.
I hate it.
No, that's okay.
No, that's the same thing I told my kids. They're always like, well, you treat this one this way and this one that. I'm like, look, everybody is different. Each
Right.
kid is different.
Right. It doesn't mean you love them more or less.
Yeah.
Or you might, but it's something.
You just don't tell them.
You just don't tell them.
Yeah,
But they
yeah,
are
yeah.
different personalities, and you do treat them differently. Same kids, same parents, same house, or even if that's not true, they're still unique beings. And in fact, Robin was visiting yesterday. We usually have brunch at my house like once a month, and so I had 4 of the grandkids there. I have 5, and we were
Well,
joking.
That was fun.
It was, and that's what I love about it.
That might be me, y'all.
okay.
Sorry about that. I was so unprepared. Let me just turn this off.
Do you know Jesse is the chief operating officer here, so everything
everything goes
goes
to
through
your
Jesse.
phone.
Yeah.
Well, I'll talk fast then.
No. You take
No.
your time. So brunch, grandkids running
Yeah,
around.
so we had 4 of the 5 were there. The one granddaughter, she's a softball star, so she was out off doing her thing. But the little ones, the 3 toddlers, Robin and I were just commenting on how different their personalities are.
Yeah.
I have this little 4-pound Yorkie that one of the toddlers is terrified of this little 4-pound Yorkie. Now, you have to keep in mind that until this past week, she's been living with a huge pit bull in her family.
Oh,
so-
she's not scared of the pit bull.
So, no, she cuddles up with the pit bull like it's a giant, pillow. But yeah, she's terrified of the Yorkie. And Robin's children, who really don't know the Yorkie as well, because they've seen her mostly over Google Duo, because that's how we've had family time, until Robin moved back home. The little one, she's 2 years old, and she just comes in and sits down and puts her little hand up against the Yorkie's face and basically says, "No." Or stop. She's like, I'm in control here. You're not taking my toys away. I'm the boss.
Yeah.
Not being mean, just being very direct. And so just how they handle like individual, how they solve their issues individually and so differently at such a young age is just really fascinating. But in regard to Nathan, he, circling back to him, he was only child for the first 4 years.
And he was an only child his whole life.
And yeah,
in his head, right? In his
I'm waiting for you to say that. He just kind of stayed in that mode.
Yeah.
That's kind of how he is here. He's like the only child upstairs on the 3rd floor.
I'm in a Zoom.
Don't come in here right now, boss.
But he was always the one that kept everybody, laughing and
Oh, yeah.
Me?
yeah,
Oh.
yeah, absolutely. Teachers,
I can see that.
teachers
Great
just-
personality. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what all good reports from his teachers. They loved having him in class, and
All my girlfriends had huge crushes on him and
Yep.
just thought that
Oops.
ironic.
Yeah.
And but if he was home because my girlfriends were over, just their eyes are
Over
starting.
there hanging out
And
with him.
and
Did he have long hair then too?
No, he
No.
always had perfect hair. We actually did a whole movie about his hair.
we did. We were talking about it yesterday. Well,
Yeah.
we were talking about it yesterday. We were joking. We
Forgot
called
about
it
that.
shampoo.
Yeah.
We used to make
It was like a
we used to
shampoo
make
commercial.
home videos.
No, it was
No.
about how he got caught shampooing his hair while doing his newspaper route.
Right.
Wait,
And he got in trouble.
And it was all about Nathan's like
This
primping
is great.
procedures,
Like his-
Shampoo.
shampoo.
That's all I have to do.
I wash and scrub. Wash and scrub.
I forgot all about that. Wow.
We wrote a script.
Yeah.
Did
We
you know
wrote
we could
songs.
be nerdier?
Which way did he part his hair? Did he part it anyway? Or just-
It just kind of like.
What was that hairstyle?
I mean,
what was that
just slumped
hairstyle
over.
called where the guys had like the big,
like a pompadour?
like a pompadour?
Yeah.
He sort of had that kind of thing going on in high school. But
Yeah.
remember, you kind of
This
had
is
that.
awesome.
Like your
Oh, I
90s
well,
teenage
I-
heart.
I went to
throb.
high school in New Jersey. You know.
Right, yeah, the pompadour in
No
the
pictures.
90s.
Do we have pictures of this? Oh, we got it. We got to
I
cut these up.
do, but I don't have them with me. So if you give me your email address,
I definitely will.
He had
Oh, God.
like a glamour shot done with his hair like this. And he
yes,
signed the thing, Mom, I love you.
Yeah, so dramatic. Yeah.
But where is that
And
picture
where,
right now?
I was going to say, and
Where
where
is
is that
that?
picture?
Probably on her desk.
Where is
facing
that picture, Mom?
It's actually on the hutch in the family room right next to your wedding picture.
her. Aw.
Oh, see, it used to be
that's
upstairs in your bedroom.
It was, but then I flipped rooms
Okay.
and brought it downstairs.
So it's even more prominent.
Exactly.
Does
That's
it really
my
say
point.
"Mom, I love you"?
Yes,
Yeah.
it does.
Yes. It looks
Oh,
it looks
such a
like
sweet
and it's
boy.
black and white. It looks like one of those like celebrity stills from the 40s.
Yeah, it does.
I think
I
Like
was
I'm
down.
an actor. Yeah.
yeah, I
And then
think
I
Sue
just-
Sipple took that picture.
I think the real way I can explain how Nathan was growing up is that his suits that he wore were bright purple and bright green.
Yes.
And he had no shame and no regard in that. He looked fantastic and he knew it.
Right. He was the kid who always had his shirt tucked in, his hair groomed, everything was perfect. His brother, on the other hand, was satisfied with his cleanest dirty T-shirt. So those are the differences
Sure,
between
yeah.
the two boys, right?
Yeah.
But Nathan wasn't walking out of the house until everything was just so.
And if I was going out with Nathan, I wasn't going out until I looked just so as well.
Oh, yeah.
too.
You had to
I
get right.
Definitely
Right.
came down the stairs and he'd look at me and go, "Nope, try again."
But that's how you got served in the bars that I took you to. I took my
Well,
sister
that's-
to a bar at 16 and she got served.
It's true.
Oh, you made her look older.
Well,
I mean,
the drag queens loved her.
they did.
God.
So how old is your brother?
He's
He's
4
40.
years younger.
Okay.
He
Yeah.
just
He just turned 40.
well, actually he'll be 41 in
Oh,
August.
last summer his
Yeah.
last birthday. Yeah, he'll be 41 this
Yeah.
summer.
And I'm younger.
Yeah, 15 years, right?
15 years.
I'll be 43 on my next birthday.
So Nathan was breaking hearts, breaking all your girlfriend's hearts. And
Oh yeah, they loved him. They
Yeah.
loved him. They,
you had to let them down softly, huh?
I mean, well, it really wasn't.
I think they figured it out.
They figured it out before I did.
Yeah.
'Cause they did.
That's good.
I was 20 before that came out, but gosh, Debbie had a question up there. We not to change the subject.
No, it's okay.
No, I was
Oh.
doing that on purpose.
I know because I wanted to ask about the
Oh,
let's
for
see your
Kathe
question.
Oh,
and
well-
Robin, what is something you've learned about addiction recovery that you wish you had known during? Oh, that's a really excellent question, because I'm sure Robin can relate to this too. We probably spent a lot of time in our early awareness of the issues that Nathan was dealing with, spending a lot of time just blaming ourselves, searching for answers, just kind of going down a rabbit hole that there was really no need to do that, just because it was unproductive, And instead of just maybe one of the things that I did, then I didn't even know about it until Robin's friend, who she was just talking about a moment ago, told me about Al-Anon. And so I started attending meetings and talking to other family members who were also family members of other members that were dealing with substance abuse, but also may have been dealing with substance abuse issues themselves. So I mean, it's not like a clear separation. Al-Anon is just family. There's also a lot of people in recovery in Al-Anon as well. So talking with those individuals and just being able to share with them and just learning a little bit more about what other people are dealing with, it was really helpful, and not going down that path of being overly emotional and self-blame and self-doubt and that kind of thing. That was probably what I wished I'd known about early on, was that I wish I'd known sooner that group was there, but also that this is a situation that impacts everybody, even people that don't have substance abuse issues, and even people that maybe don't have family members that have substance abuse issues. It's a problem in our society, and you don't know what kind of problem, somebody walking down the street is facing with, or just people that you interact with. So I think just having better self-awareness is just really important, of what everybody's having to deal with.
So Mom, you're active in Al-Anon now?
I have slowed down because of COVID and my work schedule. But yeah, I'm still active.
Yeah, I think you hit something on the nose. It definitely the addiction, and for those that are when we're in active addiction, we don't realize how much it affects like everybody.
Right.
Like we get so self-centered and selfish, and we think it's just hurting us, and we hurt so many people,
Right.
especially when it comes to the family.
Right. That's right.
Well, I think that what I had wished I had known from the beginning was that there's no shame in this, and that you're brought up with these stigmas of what addiction is and what you're led to believe of a person who's an addict is going through, and especially if they don't follow through with it or if they relapse, and so learning that there's no shame in this, learning about the actual condition of what's that's happening versus a character trait, I guess, or something, really it helped me in a lot of ways. Like I'm very transparent with my teenager. He's on the spectrum. And so he's very literal. He's very, he just sees facts and stuff like that. And so with him, it's actually pretty easy. But just being very transparent with him and saying, hey, this is what's happening in our family. And so if you see Gigi, my mom, and she's a little sad, this is what's happening right now. But we're not going to place blame. We're not going to worry. We're not going to stress. We're going to be supportive. And sometimes being supportive means backing up a little bit. And sometimes being supportive means like checking in on the podcast or, can I talk about Brian? Brian, my brother, is also in recovery as well. And so giving him a little grace if he's a little bit more agitated or if he has to step away and have his own, he's not as gregarious, he's not as outspoken. And so if he needs to step away. And so removing that stigma, removing that, I hate to say shame because I never really felt ashamed. But I wouldn't be ashamed if somebody in my family had cancer.
Yeah.
So why would I be, why would I feel burdened or upset by this or, what have you, has really made it, I don't know, it's just made everything a lot more open.
Yeah, no, yeah. That's awesome. We're here, really, and it's kind of like ironic. Like Nathan's role is like he's the advocate. Like he's out there advocating for those with substance use, and y'all get it. There's not a lot, as a family, y'all get it. There's a lot of people out there that don't understand, and they do exactly what y'all are talking about. Their shame and their guilt won't let them admit that their family member or their loved one suffers from substance use disorder. Sometimes they'll even bury a loved one, and they they'll lie on the what are they called, the
obituary.
The obituaries.
Yeah.
They won't say it. They won't. Because of the shame and guilt, like y'all are talking about.
It's liberating though. It's very liberating because it I can you feel free talking freely about it, and you realize that other people may have a shared experience. Maybe they're not ready to talk about it, or maybe they are, but you don't feel that tide, that holding back on who you are and where you are. But also, like, I get to look at Nathan and just see Nathan. We get to laugh like we always do. And I don't look at him and see his addiction, and I don't look at him and see, I see his recovery when he talks to me about it, but I see somebody who's very passionate and cares about what he's doing. And that's nothing holds me back from that.
I love that.
You can't let that one character define his whole personality, because there's a lot more to Nathan than just, that he's had this issue that he's had to deal with, or even with Brian. But I think what you're saying about shame is really critical, because as a parent, like, we all want to brag on our kids, right? I mean, it's just natural. You want to talk about all the milestones and all the accomplishments, and, like, that's the first thing we're talking about here with Nathan, right? Is what was life like with him? And, and that's all good and wonderful, but it's really hard for the parents out there to say, yeah, and, all of these other things, but there's also this, there's also this problem with addiction, or this hospitalization, or this drug arrest, or this court case, or like all these other things that it's difficult for parents to talk about, because it's just not the way society wants us to be parents. So it's like just natural to sort of, to have shame and to place blame on ourselves.
Mhm.
And, it's just not that black and white. It just never is. Just never that black and white.
And like you were saying, you know, we're not our diagnosis. We're not. That's not who we are. Like Nathan is much more than that. Myself, and those that suffer from substance use disorder or mental health disorders. We're not. That's not who we are. There's way more. So that's beautifully put. Well said. I wanted to shift gears because you were on to something, and I thought you were getting ready to talk a little bit more about it. It's Pride Month, so and I don't have any questions. So I don't know what's politically correct or not. But I'm just curious. Like when you were getting ready, you talked about it when you were 20. When did you come out? Like when did you become okay to come out, and when did it happen? Like how was that for y'all? I mean, it's got to be. I hate that we even got to think that it's a trying and hard thing, but I know it is. My son, who's going to be on there, he had to go through it. So I'm curious. When did you come out? How was it? Tell us about that.
Honesty, our CEO and I were talking about Pride Month a little while ago this morning, and we talk about let's do something, and I'm like, all I really usually want to do at the end of the day is go home and cook dinner and maybe go to a meeting and have a cup of tea,
This is how I celebrate.
You know what? I'm glad I'm not alone. That's all I want to do too.
There's a comedian an Australian comedian whose name is escaping me right now, but she's lesbian, and she talks about, well, she says she's lesbian, but she's not a practicing lesbian, and that just means she's single. But she talks about the same thing. It's like, Pride is so aggressive with these really loud, bright colors and all the glitter and
that's what
all
my
the
son
boys.
Said too. Yeah.
But and somebody
we did paint a Pride rainbow on your door when you were 3. You remember that?
No.
No, 3 and 4 years old. Yeah.
So it's your fault.
quite possible.
She stamped it on you.
I did, yeah.
The mark of Cain.
So that's how it works now. I did not know that.
Yes, that is exactly how it works, moms and dads. You can make your children gay. No, but so it's. I know you're going to ask that question, and it's so funny because there's still there's a bigger part of me than I want to be that is still not comfortable with that. Who's still, and I still struggle with that acceptance, that self-acceptance. And I think a lot of my early my early adulthood was struggling with that self-acceptance, and I found acceptance through bottles and powders, and was able to party. And for a while it was fun.
That made you comfortable. That made you be comfortable with who you are.
It did. And it's funny because it's not like I really had I didn't have the most traumatic experiences with my family as far as coming out and everybody hating me or throwing Bibles at me, and that wasn't really my experience. There were some unkind and some perhaps uninformed things that were said or done, but I also wasn't informed and kind, and I think I didn't give my family enough credit or enough time to figure things out, and I just sort of reacted and said, nope, you can't figure it out, you can't help me, bye.
You have to remember the time period too. So we're going back to the mid 90s, which I mean,
back in the olden days
when I was a young whippersnapper. And I had friends who were dealing with the similar issue as parents who just wanted to alienate themselves from their kids. And I didn't understand that. I mean, I could understand distancing your kids for doing horrible, evil, mean-spirited, illegal, being a danger to you, but just for being open about who they are just didn't make sense to me. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know that when Nathan revealed his awareness to me, how far along he was in that process with being open about it. Do you remember? That was
Hold
talking
on.
Am I being too vague here?
Well, it is just an odd way of saying that, but
Yeah. No, I'm trying to think it through in my head. So
if I recall correctly, this is what I did. The summer of 1996, I went to Michigan to
trip that we were just talking
yeah,
about.
right. That we were just talking about, and so I was a counselor at a fine arts camp in Michigan.
Uh-huh.
Right before I had left, days before, I had joined the Marine Corps. But I did.
Hold on, you joined the Marine
Well,
Corps?
I deferred.
Well,
I deferred my enlistment.
More to the story.
I deferred my enlistment. And something you may not know about me, but every single male in our family, every single male who didn't marry in, I think every single male served in the military.
Okay.
Navy, Marines, and we have one cousin who was in the Coast Guard. We don't talk to him much, but no, kidding about that. And some of the women did too. So
Right.
and for the most part, the women in our family are all all the women in our family are professional, solid, strong women. But some of them also wore uniforms of different types too. So I grew up around uniforms. It's a normal thing to me. So fast forward, to being a young adult, or actually to being 40 years old and being with cops and getting arrested and having drugs in my hands and all the things. It was a struggle for me to recognize, and it still sometimes is for me to recognize where the gaps are in helping and harming, the addict. But that's another story. I'm digressing.
Yeah, the Michigan story.
But back to that. Back to that summer though. Was that when?
So I was in Michigan that summer, and I found people.
How old were you?
I was 20.
Okay,
I turned 20 in Michigan, and I had already.
One more question. I'm sorry. Was he still living at home?
He went to Michigan he was not living at home. He was
technically,
yes.
I was living with my father in Virginia Beach.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. All right. Go
Yeah,
ahead. Sorry.
and Mom was in New Jersey at the time.
No, I was in
You were
Virginia.
already in Northern Virginia at the time. That's right. Yeah. I went to high school in Northern Virginia.
The summer you
I went to high school in New Jersey.
Right. And right after you graduated was when we moved to Virginia.
Yeah. They told me about 3 years later. So
no, that is not true. Lie.
So I'm in Michigan, and
the lies just sometimes flow out his mouth really easily too.
Family mythology. So this is 1996. There aren't cell phones back then, or at least not accessible cell
Pagers,
phones. Yeah. I don't even think pagers were a thing.
No, they were.
Well, all right. Not for a 20-year-old kid with no money in Michigan working as a fine arts counselor, and so who had really no need for it anyway. I'm at a camp, burning trees.
A band camp.
A fine arts camp.
Fine.
Okay.
I was getting ready to ask, what was the fine arts camp? So it was a band camp.
It was band.
Well,
it was a.
Yeah, but they had dance and they had painting and sculpture.
It was a performing arts.
Yeah. No, it's still there. Actually, I
you ended up doing that. Didn't you get into performing arts? Didn't you do something?
I was a music major. Yeah.
You showed me a picture of you in like a pirate or something.
That was just a few years ago in
He's
Florida.
been a performer since the early days.
It started with the shampoo commercial.
Exactly. Even earlier.
Oh man.
Even earlier. Shiggity boo.
Girl.
We talked about your Halloween. We spent a lot of time talking about you yesterday.
So you see the shimmery. That's kind of like the shickety boo dress.
Yeah, shickety boo dress.
Oh, is that what you had on when you were doing the shampoo commercial?
It was
no. This was even younger.
It was a Halloween costume.
I was what, 3, 5?
That we made for him when he was like maybe 4 years old. And it was the only thing we could come up with, with what we had at the time were just, we put him in like a white gown and
that was like
stitched some like gold garland on it and made some wings out of cardboard or something. So we made him like an angel, and he was just prancing around singing his shickety boos. Oh, he was loving it. Yeah, he was loving it. He was an angel. Yeah.
Fast forward to the end of high school. Somehow my high school band director found that picture. Long story, but it's tight community up there. My grandparents knew everybody, and suddenly that picture, because Rob, and I saw Rob when I was in Jersey last year.
That's funny.
Rob Reimer, he put that picture all over the place.
Picture was viral.
Yeah,
oh my gosh.
In 1994.
That's funny.
So I'm in Michigan, right? And
this is important though, because this period of time was like, not everybody was open about
It-
being gay
yeah.
or having gay kids. We didn't have Pride Month celebrated at work. This is typical.
So
of
I'm in
any
Michigan.
family get together. There's always a breakdown of
So what happened in Michigan?
yeah.
So it's the 90s, though. I'm following the story. It's
So
the
it's
90s.
1996. It's Michigan. Picture it, Michigan, 1996.
Michigan's a very conservative state.
Well, that regardless, where I was,
We don't have any roots there. It was Nathan's summer job. So
Okay.
I'm never gonna finish this story. I love it. Well, it was a fine arts camp, as I've said, and I was with a bunch of people my age, and they were all students from all over the country. A lot of them from Michigan, but a lot of students from all over the country. And suddenly I found people who were like me, which is to say gay and openly gay. It was like the first time I had met gay people that I wasn't scared of.
Wow.
Well, yeah. Wow is right. I mean, I've since found out that people I went to high school with were gay, and hadn't come out in high school. But at the time, I didn't know anybody.
So the people at the camp in Michigan, they were from all over.
Yeah, they were like me. I was in college, so I was a fine arts. I was a music major in college. So our associate dean of whatever his title, he was on this board out in Michigan, or maybe he was just a teacher, but he'd bring some of us with because I went to Old Dominion and brought a couple of us out there to I was a counselor. I was a counselor and a lifeguard, believe it or not. That's when I grew out my hair. I know, I was a lifeguard, crazy. And
Robin's cringing like, what?
it was just a shallow pool. Don't worry.
Always is.
Robin, it was the kiddie pool.
But remembering it's 1996, there are no cell phones. So, the phone calls back and forth were A, expensive, and B, they weren't frequent. So what I did at the time, because I had deferred my enlistment in the Marine Corps, and the Marine Corps, this was in the period of Don't Ask, Don't Tell. And when I went and signed up, everything was on, paperwork, right? Like literal paper.
It's also right after the first Gulf War, too.
Right. When I was signing all this paperwork, all the questions about being gay, because Don't Ask, Don't Tell was in effect, all those questions were still there on the forms, but they had just been
lined out.
Yeah, lined out. But you could read through the text, through the I guess the black marker through it. So I knew it was there, and I knew those questions were going to be there, and I had made that choice to continue to suppress who I was and join the Marine Corps. And part of my thinking with joining the Marine Corps was that it would change me. I mean, I really, at that point, in my life, I was really considering priesthood of all things. I was considering, the Marine Corps, two very opposite ideas, but, things, that would presumably make me a man, or a straight man anyway. And that was my thinking. And so when I went and found people in Michigan who were okay with themselves, I actually liked and wasn't afraid of, I thought, well, maybe I can do that. And so for me, I took the easy way out. And I Kristen, if you're listening, I really do want to apologize, but the reality is that you can't keep a secret. And I knew that.
Kristen's our cousin.
I'm getting to that. So, well, Kristen, our cousin, it's funny now because she's an administrator in Goochland. Her husband's actually deputy sheriff out in Goochland. But at the time, she was in Virginia Beach. And Kristen, I called her and I told her that I'm gay. And I said, please don't tell anybody.
Why'd you pick her? Was there any
reason? Because I knew she couldn't keep her mouth shut and she would tell everybody for me. And she did exactly what I wanted her to do. She outed me to everybody before I had the chance. So, it became a whole cascading thing. I was very, very close, well, I still am, to Kristen's brother, our other cousin, Michael. He and I were he was like an older brother to me at the time, still kind of is. And he, it was a whole, and he'd been a Marine, and I did a lot of things that he did. He was an older brother I looked up to in my mind. So a lot of things he did. He studied German in high school. I studied German. He played the French horn. I played the French horn. He went into the Marine Corps. I went into the Marine Corps. I followed a lot of that. And so when that came to a head, and obviously, with Don't Ask, Don't Tell, my very military family kind of went, well, hold on a second. And what you may not know from that period, one of the things I really struggled with was Uncle Dean's reaction. My mom's brother-in-law, or my Uncle Dean, our Uncle Dean. Kristen's dad. And, he'd been career Navy, and, his response was, he was the one who really is like, well, you can't go in the Marine Corps now. You can't go in the military. And, he was coming from a place of love. He was coming from a place of he didn't want to see me get hurt. And I wasn't going in the Marine Corps. I was not joining the military for the right reasons. When I examine this today, it's like, if I really wanted to get a career out of that, I would have gone into the Air Force or somewhere to use, more, I have an aptitude for computers. Don't tell people that though, but, and I would have utilized that, but that's not what I was going for. And so, he essentially said, you can't do that. You will die, you will get killed in there. And that's kind of what I was left with. That was kind of nobody really.
It was also right after the first Gulf War too, so it was also a really traumatic time in our family. Anyway, I mean, as a mother, I was not particularly, and I support the military, and I've been supporting the military my entire adult life, but I was not prepared to have a son, my oldest child, go off knowing, and that wasn't the only, and that wasn't. In spite of your, personal lifestyle choices, just the fact that we were at war was enough that I didn't want him to go either. So,
yeah. Meanwhile, our brother was one of the first ones into Baghdad in 2003. But
right, but that was later, and that was a different set of circumstances.
Nathan, let me ask you. I'm just curious. The "Don't Ask, Don't Tell" back in the '90s, that was basically stating that we're not going to ask you. Don't tell us. If you tell us, we're not going to let you in.
Yeah.
Because it was still like military policy still didn't support gays in the military at that time.
There's a twist of irony in what happened after Don't Ask, Don't Tell, because ostensibly it was to protect people. The reality of what actually happened was more people were
targeted.
More people were exited out of the military during those years for being gay than had been previously, and simply because they started targeting, exactly like you said. Wow. And it became a bigger issue. And I know these things because, as it turned out, a couple of years after that, I had worked for a national gay and lesbian at the time, National Gay and Lesbian Task Force, that's what they were called, in DC, and did a little bit of political work at the time, which, may or may not have, contribute to what I'm doing these days. There's a part of me that wish, anyway, that's another story. But back then, so, being 20 years old, not really understanding what was going on with me again, and having my family around me who also didn't understand what was going on with me and didn't, I wouldn't say they're not supportive. That's not fair. Excuse me. But not knowing what to say or do, or
not knowing what to trust either, because when you're in your early 20s, I mean, your frontal lobe is not fully developed, and you don't know if, like you're still growing and changing. You're a young adult, but you're shifting from being a child to being an adult. And that's not a transition. It's not like a switch that you flip overnight on your 18th birthday. Mm-hmm. It's a transition. And as children do become adults and they get more exposure, like to other people from other lands at band camp, or just seeing like other people and other careers, meeting new people and just being exposed to new things, you learn more. You learn more about the world, and you learn more about yourself. And I think it takes time to just really get comfortable with your own self-awareness when you're really sure about how you feel about yourself.
Okay. So you didn't know if I guess what I'm hearing is if it was actually true, if he was really gay or not.
Nathan revealed this to me on that trip.
So you called your mom next?
Did we talk on the trip? I don't remember the next.
No, when I arrived in Michigan, you told me in Michigan.
Oh God.
And then we had that.
I do not remember that.
We had that lovely drive home.
I have obliterated that with alcohol and drugs.
Right. Did you come out to anybody before your cousin? She was the first to know.
Well, no. In high school, I had come out to the girl I went to prom with. Poor thing. Well, her prom. She was a year older than I am.
You asked her to prom?
No. She asked me. It was her. She's a year older. She asked me to prom, and so
was it one of your friends?
No.
Surprise.
I told her, I don't know if I told her on the phone or if I told her in a letter, she had gone away to college
Not
the next
letter.
year. Well, so
Oh, no.
she sent me back a letter quoting Leviticus and Romans and
Lord,
and all the
did you?
things. Well, and yeah, but I had also come out to my best friend at the time. Well, one of my best friends today still, my friend Dennis, and and this is something to tell in front of my mom, but I don't know that I was a total Lothario in high school, but I
What does that mean?
You're using those $8 words again.
I know I'm doing that on purpose. It keeps a distance.
I know.
I got action, okay, with the girls, and
Okay,
so my high school best friend knew this, and he's like, "Well, you can't be gay. You did this and this and
You
this,"
did,
and I'm like,
yeah.
"Well, I mean, as it turns out, and so."
Why
I
can't
could be whatever I want to be.
Why
damn it.
why can't I be both?
Yeah.
You don't get to choose for me.
I know.
Well,
But look,
I didn't
just
want to be
imagine-
both. I-
It's it's crazy. We got to have this conversation. Just imagine if it was like I got to come out that I'm straight. Like we don't have that. Like it's not like no coming out party for being
Right.
straight.
It's like I made this decision as a
And I'm gonna be
teenager,
straight. Yeah.
and now I'm 60, and I'm like, wait a minute. That was not the choice I meant to make.
Yeah,
That's probably a good topic for another show.
yeah. But a lot of that, so tying in with addiction, right? And so I'm still, I like to say that I came out at 20, but like I didn't really start to think about self-acceptance really until I got into recovery. And so much of what I've been thinking about with my sponsor, I have a new sponsor too.
Really? From the one
Yeah,
okay.
I switched, and I love Ensung, but I got a new sponsor who has lived experience, with that, and so somebody I just feel comfortable sharing more intimate details with. It's just, nothing that I get it that the sponsor in 12 steps, the sponsor is supposed to help you get through the steps, but there's certain things that are tying me up in my fourth step, then my fifth step that I realized I just want to talk to somebody who's got that who's had that exact experience or a very similar experience, and who's not gonna I don't have to soften the blow with a little bit, So anyway, that's a long way of saying I got a new sponsor who I've known for years. She and I have been friends. In fact, I'd asked her to be my sponsor before, and then realized she was really tough. So I'm like, no, I don't want a tough sponsor. I want somebody who's going to be nice and gentle and that's been
Tell me
great.
what I want to hear.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, and that's not my experience with Ensung. It's just more of a, Anyway, so it's nice to have somebody with a lived experience I can share, and get it without having to go into deep explanation about things. That's really it. Because I recognize that there's, I didn't give people the opportunity to do what my family does really, really well. I'm sitting here listening to y'all talk about what you all did when you realized that, I was dealing with addiction. You went and educated yourselves. Like I'm sitting here, I'm thinking, man, that's my family. Like that's something I do. It's what I get from you, from the family, and we have this incredible history of going out and learning. It's okay. So getting in the solution. And I didn't trust that for a long, long time, and at early 20s part where I was really, really scared of who I was, you got to remember, my mom grew up Catholic, I didn't grow up necessarily Catholic, but I got really attached to the Catholic Church at the time in high school and college. And,
And being gay in that time
Yeah.
period was not openly accepted.
It's
and
still not in the Catholic
we-
Church. That's another
Yeah.
story. But you go to church every Sunday, and literally, I worked for a church. As a tenor section leader in a church, I've worked for churches. Hearing every Sunday that I'm going to hell is exhausting on the psyche.
Yeah.
It's exhausting.
I bet it was. And I hate that this like we even have to ask these questions, right? I just it's just crazy that we got to ask them. But I'm curious, like what was like your thoughts when you found out Nathan was gay? Like
Well, actually, it's interesting listening to y'all talk about it. My, Texas.
That's it. That's down south, right? That's Virginia stuff.
So, being younger, it creates like a little bit of a generation gap where I was coming of the age where still that was like our parents and stuff with the fear of homophobia, but also we were like, who cares? That's when we started coming around. And so somebody in our family, I'm not going to name names, was Snoopy and found out through some of the letters that you might be that way. And they told me. Mm-hmm. And
prior to the Michigan trip?
Yeah. And I didn't know what that meant. So they said, well, like on the B-52s? And I went, no. And he's like, the B-52s guy? And I said, I don't know what you mean. And so like he basically had to spell it out to me. Nathan likes guys. And I went, okay. But I didn't know why that was something to be like about. Like, I didn't understand. And I remember that like at some point I had asked like what it meant to be gay, and Mom had said something like, well, there's nothing wrong with loving who you love, but it's scary to make your life harder. And so just listening to what you're saying and you're coming out with things, I think also kind of reminds me of like your addiction as well, where like there has been knowledge and feelings and understanding and connections before it even hit revelation to you to come out and speak out candidly and openly. And so, I was in second or third. No, I had to been in fourth grade when I found out, around that time, like heard it as a rumor. I didn't know what it meant or why it was important. I just wanted him to be happy. And so when it finally came out in a little like ripple of disturbance, mind you, I'm also the youngest of all the cousins, so I do tend to be like kind of sheltered and kept.
And kids like to make jokes.
I didn't really understand the like hubbub of it all, right? At all. I didn't get it at all. And so, I mean, to me, Nathan and I have always been. We've always been close. He was
it's my brother.
He was an authoritative figure, and then he became kind of annoying, and then he became my buddy.
Not annoying.
Well, he used to make me sandwiches and stick his finger in the sandwich before giving it to me. I mean,
from the life of siblings,
though,
Yeah.
And then he
put a big hole in the sandwich. And
the difference is that we have a program.
They always love to prank each other. Always.
But,
it wasn't a prank.
He always was like very protective, very. I mean, it's actually a nature within him to be very protective of me. And I've got several accounts of when people would talk to me, and Nathan would be like, basically, you're too shady of a person to talk to my sister, or you're not good enough for her, and whisk them away. And so I guess in my head it was like I kind of have to be the same way. Why would you think anything less of him? I just didn't get it, and I just didn't want him to. At least in my eyes, I never want him to feel like he's less than in my eyes. He's always my big brother, and that wouldn't have changed. So
that's pretty damn cool. So it's like, did you know that she knew then? This is your first time like finding out?
I don't.
So it's almost like she knew like the whole time.
I think a lot of it was instinct too, and I think like all of these little moments.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't have picked up on the instinct.
Yeah,
right.
In the moments,
exactly.
in those moments, you don't pay no mind. It's just my brother, this is my son, this is it.
Right.
Yeah.
Like in high school, I mean, Nathan wasn't one of those kids who was always like going out on dates, like boys or girls.
Busy.
He was busy. He was very active socially with clubs and theater and music. But in looking back on it now, even for your own prom, you were talking about prom a minute ago. That was like a one night date. It's like
I didn't go to my prom.
You went to.
I went to senior prom the year before when I was a junior, but my prom, I didn't go. I was supposed to go with. Yeah, that was you. Probably neither one of you would ever know any of this, but this was. I had come out to Dennis, and Dennis was very adamant that I was. Just attention seeking, which is funny because now when I talk about my addiction, I talk about my first addiction was attention, other people. Right. And I still think that, like, I mean, yeah, the drugs and the alcohols will brought me to my knees and I needed to accept or surrender to, and the attention, and so it's funny because now I'm in outreach, it's like I literally go for attention every day.
Get all the attention. Yeah.
But I guess like there were like kind of subtleties that I was picking up on as well in high school, not younger than that. But definitely in high school where I started to notice that, it's not really demonstrating any particular interest in girls. And I thought, all right, well, that's okay. We'll just see what happens, next month. Like, who cares, right? But then as time went on, and then the trip to Michigan, and I remember one time you came home when you were working at that church in DC, or you were singing that church, and Brian had come home. Brian was active duty at the time, and so we decided to get together for Easter, and we were going to go to.
Did you say he was singing in a church?
Mhm.
Yeah, Nathan's got a beautiful voice. Beautiful voice.
Really?
Well,
I'm so surprised you haven't heard it.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
we do karaoke too, and you've never
yeah.
sung a karaoke
but
before.
before the teeth came out,
Still sing
yeah,
with the
I
teeth.
know,
Gospel.
but it's a thing.
Oh my gosh, I still listen to that music.
That little church
You
that.
definitely will
Yeah.
be singing.
Did you know that we went to France together?
We talked about that yesterday too.
Of course you did. Mom and I went to France together.
There's a whole other story. I'll
Yeah.
tell you about that later. But
But so brother came home.
yeah, so brother came home. He was on leave, and he had his military uniform, and we decided to go to church. And so we're all right. We'll go to Nathan's church.
He didn't have his military uniform on. He had his dress blues.
Okay, I'm sorry.
There's a huge difference.
There's a huge difference. I stand
And
corrected. He was so proud of that, right? So
We're walking through DuPont
He's like a
Circle.
He's like a back 35 in white, and he's
yeah.
perfectly square jawline and bright blue eyes. He's handsome.
Oh yeah, he looked like Matt Damon. He was gorgeous at that age. Well, he still is, but I mean, he looks.
And he was showboating. He was peacocking.
Oh, yeah.
He was very proud of himself.
But he didn't realize we'd be peacocking right through the neighborhood in
Like,
DC. So.
right.
He
And then
knows-
we
he
get
knows
into
the
this.
gay neighborhood.
We go to
That's
church,
great.
and we're sitting there with
That's
Robin
right,
and
I forgot
Brian.
about that.
Brian, like after a few minutes, into the service, he kind of leans over to me and he gives me a little elbow tap, and he's like, "Mom, there's like everybody's coupled up here," and I just like, yeah, it appears that way. Yeah, it's like
Good job.
yeah, good job. Right. So Brian was in the military. I really didn't know how much he knew. I really didn't feel
I'll
like
just tell
it
you,
was.
he knew.
Well, he knew,
Yeah.
but it was like really. I guess when it's when he's in a church in a setting, an environment like that, it's like, okay, if I had any doubts, now it's gone. you know.
Are you kidding? He loved the extra attention from both of us.
Probably.
Oh my gosh,
yeah,
he probably did. But
I'm
I'll
not
just
the only one who suffers from attention.
I'll never forget him, like the eyes, the look on his face when he was like, okay, all right,
This guy's checking me out.
we're in a gay church. Yeah, we are. Yeah, so let's do it. Let's have Easter. Let's celebrate Easter. Yeah.
Were you singing that day?
Yeah, probably. It was an Easter
probably.
service. Yeah. So I was a paid chorister in several different churches, but this particular church, that was the one with the that had burned down. This church burned down, but the half the sanctuary burned down, but the back part of it, where all the office stuff happens, that didn't burn down. So what you had was this exposed Gothic altarpiece, and just the wall right there, and then this little. They turned it into a garden. They put this garden sanctuary out there, and then they used one of the big service rooms inside. Anyway, long story short. I sang with a couple different choruses, a couple different church choirs, paid and not paid, but paid gigs. And then I did sing with, and I love this. My favorite thing was singing with these big giant symphonic choruses. Anyway, big giant symphonic choruses, which is goofy stuff. What does that mean? Like if you ever hear the Hallelujah chorus, that kind of stuff, that or even bigger stuff like the Mozart Requiem or the Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, the end.
So you sing like that, like opera?
We won't even talk. Should we talk about the abbeys in France?
I was watching a lot of things on churches over the past weekend, and so one of the things I did. So there's a Berlioz was a what is his first name? Doesn't really matter. Anyway, Hector Berlioz.
Yeah.
So he's a composer. They have a festival for him in France in Lyon. And a couple of years ago, when I was living in Florida, I had moved to Florida after living in DC, and the choir that I used to sing with in DC, this big choir, big symphonic choir, sang at the Kennedy Center, and kind of neat stuff, right? And they were putting together this concert in France, and I said, well, I'd like to be a part of that.
The National Choral
And
Arts Society.
The Washington Choral Arts Society, right? The Choral Arts Society of Washington. And so I said, well, I'd like to be a part of that. And how can I do that while I'm living in Florida? And as it turns out, I have to be in DC. I think I had to be in DC twice over that summer, for a wedding, and then being a person in the wedding. I'd come up for the wedding stuff. And so I knew I was coming up, but anyway, long story short, I was able to put enough rehearsals in that I could come to DC and rehearse, go back to Florida, work. I was a student full time. I was in my mid 30s, but I was still a student. So, and working, what was I doing at the time? I was working in the computer lab.
Did you sing at the Kennedy Center?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah.
Wow,
So,
that's pretty cool.
yeah, it was pretty cool. It is pretty cool, actually. I mean, I'm not
And
gonna.
at Ford's Theater too.
We sang at Ford's Theater. I've sang in the National Cathedral. I've sung, for, well, just the one president, but not solo, not
Yeah.
solo.
Not solo.
Just the one president.
Well, I was thinking it was two different times. It was two different times. But we did sing for, actually, yeah, because it would have been Bush at the Kennedy Center too, for the what do you call it? Kennedy Center honors. That was really cool.
Did he sing for the Pope too?
I didn't.
Cut it out. Did he really?
No. Well, I did.
You are definitely July 4th cookout on Monday. You are grabbing that mic and you're gonna sing something. If you just do hallelujah, whatever, you're doing something.
That's really funny. It's funny we bring this up because there's when I was a kid, when I was 18, right? Right after high school, I had gotten into school at James Madison for voice and for French horn. And I didn't want to go to James Madison. And in my mind, I was screaming in the back of my head, I do not want to be stuck in these mountains. And I knew that I was gay, but I hadn't come out at that point, or come out
on the ride home, you were terrified.
Oh, yeah.
That was like out in the wild, wild west wilderness. I'm not going there.
I'm not. Yeah. Well, I was terrified, and I knew.
JMU.
Yeah, I knew it was a good school, but it's 1994. I graduated high school, and I felt like I was gonna get killed out there, and I just didn't.
And we didn't live in Virginia at the time.
Right. We lived in South Jersey.
Correct. Yeah.
Where I was born, actually, the same town I was born in.
Mm-hmm.
So, at the time, I was setting myself up to become a music major. That's what I thought I was going to do, and I had an accident as a direct result of my using. I wasn't, we joke about it, but I wasn't in my right mind that morning, and I was definitely sober, but I was hungover, and had an accident and knocked my teeth back. And what that did for me was that meant that I could not play the brass instruments anymore, because you need to have a real strong embouchure,
have a grip on it or something.
Yeah. So the way you play and the way the teeth, and I've never played a brass instrument since then. Fast forward, I've said that like 3 times today, haven't I? But fast forward to about 20 years, I'm in my mid 30s. And I suddenly start having some problems with my teeth. And so when the teeth had been knocked back, they got pulled forward, and I had root canals done. This is a long, drawn-out story. I didn't take care of my teeth. I was so deep into my addiction at the time that I didn't properly take care of the things I needed to take care of with my teeth, and therefore had to have them pulled out. So when I had them pulled out, and this was 5-6 years ago, maybe 7 years ago, I flipped a switch that I have not really been able to flip back. I flipped this switch and said, well, now I can't do the thing I love to do, which is get on stage and do these big choral things. And simply because I'm worried the teeth are just going to fall out, and they're not going to sustain, or I'm not going to be able to have the same, it's a mental thing. It's a hurdle that I'm
going to help you get over it.
Well, and Moses tried early on, and I just looked at him and said, no,
I ain't doing it.
No, I'm not doing it. I don't want to do it. You can't make me do it. And I walked away, and it's not, I don't care. I mean, I take the teeth out all the time. I laugh. It's not that I don't, I'm grateful for the fact that I can still smile, and I don't like the way I sound when I take the teeth out and talk. but I also don't think I can. I'm also going to be 45 tomorrow. It's not like my days of becoming an opera star are gone. My days of getting on stage are probably gone. And so there's a part of me that misses that, but there's a part of me that like I got to do some amazing things. Like I got to go to France with my mom, and
which was so cool.
yeah, and sing.
I mean, cool for me too. Even like just to watch all these performances and attend all these rehearsals, and it was 2 weeks there, and he worked every day. Like it was
we worked
hard.
our butts off.
It was like 150 people on that trip, and only.
I can't hear you.
You gotta go.
You're trying to whisper in my ear. I have a big can.
I read her lips. She has to go, everybody.
She has to go.
I'm
Oh.
sorry.
Do you mean down the hall or do you mean leave?
No, I gotta go relieve the husband with the kids.
Oh.
So he's gotta head out to work.
Actually, you know what? We are well over the normal time anyway here.
I lost track of time.
I'm so sorry.
This is Getting the Herd after hours.
This is great.
But
we got to do this again.
I this what you're pointing out though is that like in my recovery I still have a lot to do, and I recognize that what's coming up now for me are these luxury things, and what I mean is that like the basic stuff is taken care of. Like I know that while I stay clean and sober, I'm probably going to have a place to live. Even if I screw up with the money, I can come back here. I can live somewhere here. I'm definitely not.
You just might not have a lamp.
I know I'm not going to starve, right? So like, and I've got that faith. But when it comes to the sense of purpose, when it comes to the sense of belonging and community, I mean, these are the things I'm still working on, and purpose, I'm getting there. Community, I'm probably withdrawing a little bit at the moment, but long story short, it just means that recovery for me is an evolving process. And I'm grateful that I have my family who can come and do this with me here today. And with that being an hour and 26 minutes into the show, Robin's got to go home.
Robin, Kathe.
Yep.
Y'all are awesome. You all really are. This is great.
You.
Wonderful.
Thank you for inviting us.
Yeah, Nathan. I didn't get a chance because I was late, but Nathan is definitely an awesome guy. We're glad to have him. I'm glad to have him. Him and I's relationship has grown over the couple years. We've yelled at each other. We've fussed at each other, and he's helped me a lot. He's helped me with what we're talking about today.
Well, I love him so much for his commitment to what he's doing now and his service to others. And I think the world just needs a lot more people like Nathan and people that work here at McShin that are dedicated and committed to helping others. So I appreciate it.
Very well said. Yeah, but I can just tell by the way y'all are here, we owe great gratitude to y'all. Please, y'all are gonna reach some people, reach some families out there because with what y'all talked about today, there's a lot of families that are still shutting the door, closing it on addiction.
There were a lot of feisty moments. I hope we're not glossing over. Like there were.
No, Nathan's told me about those.
I mean, because every family has that, right?
Yeah. It's never picture perfect.
It's never picture perfect.
Me and my wife were talking about that. Somebody was like, "Oh, y'all are like the greatest couple," and Kelly, my wife was like, "They just don't know what happens behind closed doors. They just see what pops up on Facebook."
Like, exactly.
Check out the behind the scenes episode later.
Yeah.
On YouTube.
But I know you got to go. I just really wanted to thank y'all. Y'all, this was awesome, Nathan. It was good. I've learned a lot of things. I've been around Nathan for a few years now, and I've learned some new stuff. So,
and my daughter calls him Uncle Nan.
She does.
Okay,
she's 2.
Uncle Nan,
maybe she could be friends with Luna. She's 2. She's trying.
Well, you're the host. Do you want to close us out?
Yeah. Thank you both for coming, and we got a couple great shows coming up. We got one Wednesday. Do we have one Tuesday?
We do. So
tomorrow you're hosting tomorrow with two.
Actually, no, it's Pat Jones and Kyle Sunday who are going to be talking about fathers in new and early recovery.
And then Wednesday we're gonna have Dixie and Joyce doing Women Wednesday. We're trying. Me and Nathan are trying to convince Joyce and Dixie to bring their dads on. Joyce said no, but hopefully Dixie will.
I didn't get a chance to talk to her, so
Thursday
is you and John and Walt. John's hosting Fathers in Long-Term Recovery, which fatherhood and long-term. So I like that we got the Tuesday and the Thursday, that juxtaposition, and then Friday
Friday, Nathan's
I'll be back in that
Nathan's
seat.
Nathan's gonna have the seat back, and I'll be in the hot seat. And Nathan's really helped me a great deal. Just like you were telling talking about your family being getting educated about addiction, educated about being gay, and just all that stuff, man. Nathan's helped me a great deal with it, so I'm looking forward to talking with Jace and you. So he's going to be hosting us.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, we'll see you all tomorrow, I hope. Thank
Yep.
you.
Thank you.
Here at McShin, we believe in the McShin way, which is authentic recovery support service providers, people with lived experience, bringing that experience to those who need that lived experience in recovery.
Here at McShin, we believe in many things to support our mission. We believe in women empowerment.
What I love most about what we believe here at McShin is we believe in the authenticity of the peer-to-peer approach.
Here at the McShin Foundation, we believe in giving people opportunity.
Here at McShin, we believe in the inherent worth and dignity of every person.
At the McShin Foundation, we believe in helping people reach their full potential.
Here at the McShin Foundation, we believe in multiple pathways to recovery.
Here at McShin, we believe in placing principles before personalities to help spread hope.
Here at McShin, we believe that recovery is possible and that any person seeking recovery can become a more acceptable, responsible, and productive member of society.
Here at the McShin Foundation, we believe in self-discovery.
Here at McShin, we believe in saving lives and offering second chances.
Here at McShin, we believe you can do this.
Here at the McShin Foundation, we believe that we can only keep what we have by giving away, which is why we continue to help others like us seek and find recovery.